she would be Mrs. Gavin Cross, and together they would... I'm going to take a couple of days after the symposium to check out the operations of some of the other weeklies. Oh? Since I have to go anyway, I might as well pick their brains on site. You can handle things while I'm gone? He glanced at his watch. Of course. She'd been handling things since Simeon had fallen ill. Oh, I almost forgot. Alan in design called today. The photo processor is acting up again. I told him to call the guy who usually fixes it, but we're going to have to bite the bullet and get new equipment soon. Call him back and tell him not to do anything until I get back. Phoebe sighed. You sure you don't want me to go with you? We could work the whole group. See who's got equipment they want to unload, and I could introduce you to the editors you haven't met. Editors he should already know, but didn't, since he'd only been to one other symposium since taking over the paper 3 years ago. Gavin pulled out a drawer of the built-in dresser and frowned at the contents. No reason for us both to go. Besides, I need you to touch base with Ed Begland at Cross County Insurance. Strong-arm him if you have to. We need a big repeat advertiser. Not all this space wasted with 2x1s congratulating some favorite high school grad. Hey, those ads help pay the rent. The Sentinel owns the building. Pay our taxes, then. Gavin sighed. Phoebe, could you please focus on bringing some money to the paper? You're just cranky because you have to drive 3 hours at rush hour to get to the hotel. I couldn't get away earlier, as you well know. Gavin went into the bathroom, came back with his shaving kit and toiletry bag. He'd be the most well-groomed editor at the Manchester Airport Hampton Inn. He'd been on his office phone all afternoon. He hadn't said who it was, but Phoebe guessed it had to do with finances. These days, he was obsessed with overhead and income. Sure, they were always floating right above red alert, but they had been for years. Long before Simeon died, and Gavin had inherited his father's legacy. Simeon had worked indefatigably to keep the paper up and running. They'd won awards. He'd published a quality newspaper the whole county could be proud of. Simeon was a true journalist. He'd given her a start when she was even too young to drive, had nurtured her and taught her more than most reporters learned in a lifetime. He'd depended on her to help Gavin get acclimated and to keep the paper running. That was her legacy, and one she was immensely proud of. Gavin zipped his suitcase and slid it to the floor. You going to stay here tonight? No, I'd better get home. I still have a lot of packing up if I'm moving in here on Friday. He kissed her. Too quickly, it seemed, to her, but he hated running late. I'll lock up before I go. Great, he called, already on his way out the door. And get those ads sold while I'm gone. The door clicked shut, and she was alone on the spacious bed. Ads. Sometimes it seemed as if she spent more time canvassing for ads, drumming up new subscribers, and keeping ancient equipment running smoothly while making sure that everyone was paid, than actually reporting. Seemed? There was no seemed about it. Her writing had taken a backseat to all her other duties as managing editor of the paper. She pulled the elastic band from her ponytail and shook her hair free. Then she lay back, rested her forearm across her forehead, and thought about a young Anita Peters, tucked away in a back corner of the food truck, her history book open, while the sting of chopped onions blurred her vision. And now that young girl was responsible for so many. Phoebe couldn't help but make a comparison to herself. She'd never been homeless, thank heaven, and she may not feed the hungry, but she was a conduit for the people who did. She had found her place in the world, where she could do what she was called to do. Make a difference. That's what local news was all about. Not broadcasting breaking headlines between commercials. Not sending a podcast into the ether sphere. Those were good for others, but not for Phoebe.